Thank you, everybody. I'd like to invite you all to join me on a trip around the world through 81 countries by bicycle. But not just any bicycle. We're going to be traveling today by tandem bicycle, where I rode the front seat of this tandem bicycle, and I left the back seat of the bike empty to pick up total strangers that I met along the way, invite them to join the journey, and create intercultural friendships. This is a dream expedition a good friend of mine, Garrick, and I put together, and we're able to manifest with the help of 40 corporate sponsors. And what I'm going to share with you tonight is the biggest takeaway from this 8-year, 81-country journey is a concept, a philosophy, and mindset I call live big, give big. I believe it's powerful enough to change the world. So let's ride. Let's begin in Japan. We decided to start our expedition in Japan. We spoke no Japanese. We had no idea how we were going to get Japanese people to get on the back of the bicycle. But somehow, using the spirit of play and some good pointing and some good thumbs up, we were able to get people like Mr. Yamafuji and little kids in the back alleys of China to come on and share our passion for cycling. Speaking of passions, we built this bike in true live big, give big fashion. The tandem mode was what we were traveling, you've seen, and the single mode that we could actually change that bike into a single bike to go and rip the trails of Asia. So by the time we were in China on our way up to the Himalaya, we were so proud of ourselves. We thought we were invincible. We pulled off the ultimate dream. You can see how proud we look there. But things change. You can see our faces change right there, and there's only one bicycle. Because somebody stole the bicycle in broad daylight in country 3 of 81. We were devastated. The people of China are like, if your bike's stolen in China, it's gone. The police aren't going to help you find it. It's gone. Kiss it goodbye. We didn't believe them. We went and got on the front page of the newspaper. We made flyers, and we told everyone, please help us find this bicycle. Please help us find the bicycle. A couple days later, this man knocked on our door. He was the chief of police of the Xi'an Police Department. He said, we want to take you guys out to dinner. We get to the dinner table. His wife was there. There was a big plate, all these plates of food and pig brains and all these things were already set out. And he had prepared his speech. You could tell. And he looked out across the room from us, the table, and he said, Jamie, Garrick, we're going to find your bicycle. And Garrick said, well, you found it? He said, no, we didn't find it yet, but we're going to find it if you promise not to go to the newspaper again. So I said, okay, no problem, we promise. And we started eating and everything. And then after I said, why can't we go to the newspaper again? He said, when that article came out, so many people from the Xi'an community called the police to complain about finding our bike that they couldn't make or receive phone calls for 2 days. So I still get chills over 10 years after telling that story because it was our first receiving of compassion from total strangers, hundreds of them, possibly thousands of them, in a very vulnerable situation. So we owe it to the people of Xi'an for inspiring the police to do the first ever sting operation for a stolen bicycle in the history of Xi'an Police Department. They found the bike being sold for $40 in the black market. This was Garrick's first rider who got on the bike, a boy who skipped the school bus to start heading up to school. And so we started making our way into the Himalayas. That was our dream. We started getting higher and higher. The conditions started getting muddy. It was monsoon season. This is what our bikes look like after a day. We were two boys, just boys loving it in some really tough conditions. The last place you would think to see a blonde Slovenian backpacker. But somehow we met them, and they agreed to hop on the bike. Ursa came on Garrick's bike. Bojana came on my bike. And they were ill-prepared for a high-altitude mountain bike expedition. They didn't have warm sleeping bags. They had no sleeping mats. That meant no camping. But we somehow said, let's just go up into the mountains and figure it out. Well, everything was fine until this happened. We couldn't quite make it over that road. Temperatures were dropping. We're at about 11,000 feet, and there was no place to stay. And there was no option to camp there. The only option we had was this guy's house named Toshi. Toshi spoke no English and also spoke no Chinese, which means our phrase books would do nothing for us. So the only thing we could do was what? Use your MyMac, right? We're cold, Toshi, we need to sleep, we're gonna die, sleep at your house. So little by little, Toshi kind of caught the picture, and through the language barrier, compassion could come through our state of vulnerability. He let us in even though we had these huge spaceship-like tandem bikes. We had blonde Slovenian backpackers who had tattoos on their forehead that we got from the gum wrapper earlier in the day. He not only took us in and fed us, but he gave us his whole place and went and stayed someplace else. That continued for 15 days as we went over several 15,000-foot peaks and made our way all the way into Tibet, where we continue to pick up all sorts of characters. And anytime we hit conditions like that cold, wet, nasty, people would take us in, warm us up, give us yak butter tea, and these warm feelings of receiving this compassion. That combined with the adrenaline of mountain biking, that's Mount Everest in the background, living a dream to mountain bike the Everest region, and then going back into that tandem mode to spread these big smiles. It was absolutely amazing. But this was the day that changed everything. It was the day that I heard these smiles and giggles going on, and something inside, I call it my inspiration of compassion came, this impulse of compassion that came, that said, Jamie, you have to do something about it. You have to bring these smiles to people who really need it. So about that time, this is about as balanced as my personal and social intentions were about that time. My personal intentions were really high. My social intentions, they were rising. I was picking people up, but I decided to shift it just a little bit. I had this impulse of compassion. And by the way, you don't have to ride a bike to Tibet to get impulses of compassion. We've all had them. In fact, according to research done by Princeton University, we're born with the impulse, with an innate impulse of compassion to help others. So with that impulse of compassion, I called my mother from Tibet to California, and I said, Mom, I need you to send over little gifts and clown noses and teddy bears so we can bring them out to people in need. And so we stopped at an orphanage in Nepal, and we gave all the kids, a lot of kids got their first toy they've ever had, and they all got rides on the bike. The joy of these kids and the gratitude was incredible. But what was more profound for us was the emotions that we were experiencing. We had the same kinds of high emotions of gratitude and joy and excitement that we had going over big passes in the Himalaya or riding the single tracks of Korea. The same kind of high emotions, which also isn't really a surprise, because based on other research done at Emory University, they found that helping people triggers the same areas of the brain that get triggered when you realize personal gratification of a personal desire. So not only are we wired to help people naturally, we're also wired to feel good when we do it. That's pretty profound stuff there. I put that to the test as we gave 120 rides to folks down in India. You can see the smiles. I was just as happy as them. Or the feeling of being in front of a blind person's first bike ride and listening to the ecstasy and the joy and the giggles as we weave through the streets of Thailand. By the time I finished the first stage of the trip of Asia and Oceania, I came up with the conclusion that I felt way better and the expedition was way bigger. The bigger I gave, the bigger I felt. So by the time it was time to plan Africa, I figured it's time to really to level that and to push up as high as I could. Obviously, my personal intent is I love to ride, I love to surf, I love to dance, I love all those things, but I wanted to push up as much as I could. That was the birth of Live Big, Give Big. It became the philosophy of Peace Peddlers. We made bracelets, we put it on our website. It became what we were looking to do, kind of this intention, and that led to our first project we called Pedal Proud. We started on Valentine's Day. We brought the love and gave 100 bikes out to a township. We sold bracelets and gave 100 bikes out to a township in Kailicha in South Africa and gave these people the gift of freedom and mobility. You can see how excited they were that we all take for granted here. Of course, the people in Africa were just as excited to take a ride from a strange American who came out of nowhere. And the same compassion and caring came when we were in the wrong street at the wrong time of day and we were in danger. People took us in. They fed us with smiles. If we had breakdowns, Nathan and others would come out of the darkness and find a way to keep us rolling again. When we were lost, people would take the time to make sure we're going in the right direction. And when I was sick, which is some of the worst memories of the trip, whether it be stomach issues or malaria, I'd have strangers there holding my hand, getting me food and water, and making sure I didn't feel so alone, so far away from home. So it was this kind of compassion over and over towards me that inspired my next project, which is a little bit bigger one called Spokes for Hope. Malaria is a huge killer in Africa, and this inspiration, what I call the power of compassion, made me call one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world, Novartis, and demand that they send down malaria medication, thousands of them down, so I can peddle them through. Even though I'm not a 501c3, I'm not a doctor, I don't have a clinic. Those are all things you're supposed to have to get stuff like that. But they finally broke after I don't know how many dozens of emails and calls and sent down this malaria medication so we can save lives like this. The most vulnerable, obviously, the children, and then working with my riders to help the elderly as well. Very rewarding project. I never stopped dancing. I didn't start a 501c3. Right? I kept riding. I kept looking for waves down the coast of Mozambique, and I kept the bike moving. The main thing I changed was just a simple change of perspective. I put what was called the Give Big radar on. Right? It was an imaginary radar. I would wake up and I'd flick it on in my head, and it was just like literally I would see it and I'd just look for opportunities to give. I didn't know what it was going to be, but that was part of the adventure. And that led me to Innocent. Innocent had never ridden a bike before. and his parents somehow let me take him for a 12-hour ride. And on that ride, he opened up and shared a dream that he had to start a school for AIDS orphans and the needy in Uganda. I don't know how to start a school, but he became a friend. I said, okay, I'll do whatever I can. At the end of our ride, I gave him a couple bucks, and I said, create an email account and send me a picture of what you think the school would be. And I wrote on, and I didn't think he would actually do it, but a couple days later, I received this in my inbox. I'm like, well, this guy's actually thinking about this. So I kept giving him up other steps, just from my heart, figuring he would figure it out. And I kept riding over to West Africa, making my way to Morocco, having fun, meeting the kids, having meals. And then I would check my inbox and realize he was doing all the steps. He found building supplies, materials, volunteers, land, all donated from the community to start building this school. Of course, I just kept riding. I'm right here on my way, ready to cross into Europe. I'm in Morocco with Mohammed there. And eventually, I crossed over into Europe for a 26-country tour of Europe. Here in Switzerland, enjoying the beautiful sunshine and checking my email to realize that he indeed kept going. He found his first 4 teachers. And I made my way up to Scandinavia, living big in the summer of Scandinavia. I highly recommend it up there in the summer. And then checked in to realize that he had found his first students. So it was absolutely rewarding to have this dance between live big and give big happening. And by the time I made it to Brazil and started riding in Brazil, to be honest, I felt a little bit like Forrest Gump. I started to feel really tired and wanted to go home. Kind of miss my family, and the riding was tough there, and I knew it was a long way home. And I really thought about quitting for the first time until I met this woman right here named Christina, and she was a little hippie Spanish backpacker who I was like, wow, she's really fired up. She got on for a 16-kilometer ride, and we finished our 16 kilometers, and she just wanted to keep riding. I'm like, well, let's keep riding. And then she kept riding, and she had decided to get her own bike. And together, we went, and she became my photographer to get up close and personal with these experiences I wasn't able to catch when I was by myself. And sadly, after 20 days together, crossing the entire country of Paraguay, she only had like one pair of underwear and one pair of shirts that she kept extending this trip. She had to go back to her backpack. I went off to Bolivia. The radar seemed to pick up this guy right here named Bruno. Bruno is a water engineer by trade. He shared some stories about communities that get their drinking water from sources like this. And they carry the drinking water over to storage bins that look like this. And this situation was causing sickness and even death in communities that he knew of. So I said, you want to do anything about this? He's like, heck yeah. So we sat down and we created Operation Agua. It wasn't a 501c3. It was just a website. And we just made a little bit of a plan. And I sent him off to do his task, was to find water nearby the community, make sure it was clean and it was good to go. And then most importantly, find volunteers from the actual community itself who are willing to get in there and actually dig the trench to get the materials in that we would eventually get. My job was to keep riding forward on the cobblestone streets of Bolivia. Really good time, but those cobblestone streets did a number, unfortunately, on my bike. My bike frame broke as I was on my way in Bolivia, and I didn't really know what I was going to do because it's made of titanium, and you can't really weld titanium in Bolivia. Certainly not. Wasn't able to find any luck in Chile either. So I knew I was going to be there as I sent the bike over to the USA for quite a long time, at least a month. Well, I meet this guy here named Chris Purcell, and Chris says to me, Jamie, you've been giving big for a while. How about receiving big? Does that sound good? I'm like, sure, sounds good. He said, do you like to ski? I said, no, I don't like to ski. I love to ski. So he said, how about going up to my family's resort up in Portillo? I'll put you up in a hotel, and you can ski for 3 weeks, and eat all the food you want, and drink the Chilean wine. Receiving big was pretty nice. The bike finally made it back. And not only did it make it back, the receiving big followed us because we got a free bike for Christina to come back on the journey with free panniers, and everything kind of just came our way as we made through all the way up into Peru here. She continued her beautiful photography and capturing these lovely moments of connection. We got an opportunity to meet the future president of Ecuador, Pedro Pablo, here on his way home from school. By the time we made it to Colombia, Christina and I had something very special brewing between us. And about 9 months later, that something special was born in Barcelona. And just 2 months after that, Christina joined me and baby Luca joined me to finish the expedition over the Golden Gate Bridge where we started 8.5 years before. And we finished the expedition together. And together we started working to fulfill our part of the deal with the water program and getting the materials sent over there so they can get the water. We did decide to get married. We was married in Barcelona and California. That was fun. And then I'm happy to say that we're still working with Innocent in the Good Hope School. They have 185 students going to school, so we continue to still work with them. So that is Live Big, Give Big, and you just went around the world. So I'm glad you liked it. So I'll close. What I see happening right now in humankind is humankind is raising the bar in every area of human achievement right now. Sports, science, technology are accelerating at these incredible rates. But I think it's time that we raise the bar, not only what we can do for ourselves, but what we can contribute to those and in the lives of those who need our support. And we can do this by each of us just making a little bit more room for compassion to enter into our busy lives. And if we do that, we'll be able to tap into this power of compassion, this indisputable power of compassion that I just demonstrated, that will help to amplify every area of your life. And to all the parents that are out there, I think we should do this for our children and for the future generations. There was a landmark study done on altruism where they studied the Germans who saved the Jews during the Nazi Holocaust. What they found was that the biggest predictor of that inspirational behavior was the memories these individuals had of growing up in families that prioritized altruism and compassion. So you don't need to start a 501c, a bunch of bureaucratic charities. You don't need to give up on our dreams and our own personal passions. We just need to look to raise the bar, to set a higher example for our children, and give them the opportunity to have that experience that I just shared, the actual physical experiences of living big and giving big, so they can have the knowledge that it's not only possible, but fulfilling. If we do that, I believe we can change the world. Thank you.